Hola and welcome to Neverwinter with Aragon. Merry Christmas if you're watching this on this day. But here I want to cover a budget starter build for the Ranger. Your role will be a full damage dealer, so that's what we'll be focusing on. Outputting as much damage as possible. This build will have a budget of 1 million Astral Diamonds, and it should get you on a pretty good track towards outputting a decent amount of damage, allowing you to perform very admirably in any of the random queues. This build, costing you 1 million Astral Diamonds, should also get you to unlock all of these, having that item level requirement of 30,000 there and 35,000 there. I will assume that you are level 20, you've gone through your leveling process, and you have some very minimal gear. You'll have some more things than I have right here, but currently everything for me is blank. Strip down everything and we're going to populate those areas with my suggestions with just spending our 1 million Astral Diamonds. You can of course run through your leveling adventures and pick up some extra free goodies here, which will give you even more of a boost. Now there'll be timestamps on the play bar below where you can skip to any section you're most interested in, but first of all we're going to talk about powers. You want to have the right setup so you can actually output a decent amount of damage by using the correct abilities. For the at-will powers, you want to be just using aimed shot and then split shot. Split shot, multi-target, aimed shot, single target. You can also use that to finish off a more tanky enemy. For the encounter powers, you want to use hindering shot and hindering strike, giving you those root abilities along with a decent amount of damage. Hindering strike being even multi-target with a high hit. Then you want constricting arrow and steel breeze. Again, you're getting those roots on constricting, and then with steel breeze you're getting that multi-target damage and also some very nice stamina regen. And then for the third ability, you either want to have plant growth for multi-target damage or gushing wound for single target damage combined with long strider shot. However, if you want to be more of a support, you can indeed use commanding shot to increase everybody's damage against the target. And you have the extra survivability of giving everybody temporary hit points. You can use Marauders if you really want the movement. That is feasible, but you will lose out on damage. Moving to the daily powers. Unfortunately, you just don't have any great multi-target daily power, so you'll use Forest to go for just a bit of stealth, which is really nice, but then in single target you want the Slasher's Mark. There is more endgame orientated builds that you can use around disruptive shot plus a mount bonus having tactician's precision, but since you're just starting out we're not going to cover that because you need to have quite a bit more than 1 million Astral Diamonds to invest in that build. Moving on to the mechanics, you just have this shift ability where, yeah, it's a little dodge, get out of harm's way, and you get like a bit of immunity frames, meaning you won't take any damage while you're within that. And it uses your stamina meter, which is what you have here above your daily power bar. And yeah, so you can only use it so many times before you have to let it to regenerate. Then you have your tab ability, your stance switching. So you will want to use this to stance switch, and then you gain an extra set of encounter powers. They all have different effects. For example, all these powers here are great multi-target damage ones, and you switch to your bow and you just have some single target ones here plus a kind of useless cordon of arrows. Unfortunately, that power is a bit bugged and can't critically hit, I believe. For the class features, you want to be going Seeker's Vengeance, extra damage when you're behind your enemy. Usually in party content you will have a tank, and so you'll be able to make the most of that. And then Crushing Roots to increase the effects of your roots. For the feats, you generally want this setup. Rate of change to be able to gain 15% damage boost. To make the most of this, you need to stance switch every time you're going to go cast a power. So, for example, right now I have a keybind set up, so every time I cast my at-will, it stance switches me and then just casts the at-will. Same when I cast encounter powers, it stance switches me before I cast those encounter powers. And that means every time I'm going to cast a power, I am refreshing this bonus, making sure I have the full 15%. Those keybinds are all here. This is only for PC. Consoles cannot do this. You're going to have to learn to manually press your tab every time before you cast a power. This is your Q ability, E, or, and your left mouse button. You can do this with other abilities as well, You'll just need to check your keybind section for the wording on those powers by hovering over them. Be aware if you want to reset that ability to a certain key, just go here and click whatever key in the keyboard you want for that power. But moving on, we have the second pair of feats, and you definitely want Thorned Roots for the extra damage, especially against bosses. The third set of feats does change a little bit. Predator is good for the single target damage, getting that mark against your target, and then biting snares would be a teeny bit better for multi-target content, but it's not a whole lot of action points, so most cases, rather than having multiple loadouts, you can just go with Predator. Fourth set of feats, Forest Bound, is kind of a must just to get that cooldown reduction. It's huge gains versus the other one. And then lastly, it's again Slasher's Expertise if you're running that daily power, which as a starter player I would recommend, and you would run more than Disruptive if you were running that Disruptive shot build. You'll want to check out an endgame build for that. That is ultimately our abilities, and let's move to somewhat of our rotation. How are you using these powers together? Well, if we're again in single target damage, you want to be having that Long Strider here instead, and right, you're going to basically just use your abilities, making sure you have combat advantage. So you want to flank the enemy with your allies, so you gain this purple arc there. Then you'll just use your abilities here and counter powers, stance switch, use our other abilities, and then we go back to our ranged. You can use that ability there, use then our at will for damage, and then our encounter powers when they're off cooldown. Once you've used your ranged abilities again, you should be able to go and use your melee abilities, and then stance switch back and just use your aimed shot. And that's pretty much it for single target damage. You can use your daily power along with an artifact call if there's that in the group. That is your Slasher's Mark here. You'll lunge at your target and slash them. And then you may have a mount power as well, which we'll cover later, that you'll want to throw in during that artifact call. If you're in multi-target content again, you'll just be going here with plant growth. So you'll just be using like your melee abilities there with the plant growth, and then switching to ranged and using those ranged abilities, and then using either the aimed shot if there's some tanky enemy left, or some split shots, just to be able to hit multiple enemies. So moving on, we want to go to our stats and ratings. So this build, what you will be wanting to focus on as you build up your character throughout the game is these 5 stats here. They will all contribute to your damage. You want to focus the priority of power, then combat advantage, then crit severity, then critical strike, and lastly accuracy. You will also want to focus item level, which will give you this damage. In terms of race and ability scores, well, I would recommend a Wood Elf for a Ranger or a Gith, just because of the stats they give. But you want to just be focusing on any race that's going to give you those offensive stats, as we said. Moving to the ability scores, I would recommend having Strength and also Dexterity. And then you can also focus Charisma if you get your critical severity to the max through Dexterity. So ideally have them set up something like this, putting all as many points as you can in Strength and the rest in Dex for now. So now let's actually move to gear. What can you get from the beginning, and what will you want to be working towards? Well, again, you're going to have a pretty basic setup. You probably have some stuff you got from this Seals of Adventure guy here. You can select go to equipment of your class. If you don't have this stuff or higher item level stuff already, make sure to pick it up. You'll be spending those seals, which you should have got through leveling or just doing random queues. And we right now have some of that, including the weapons. You can get a few upgrades to your gear here just through seals that you'll get from random queues. These other seals, you get like Seals of the Dragon, and you'll get Seals of the Spider. So your first step would be to do those queues, go to Protector's Enclave here in this location, and you'll have this vendor where you can spend those seals. You'll just want to, pick up the headpiece because of its item level, but it has somewhat of a beneficial effect. And if you're running dragon hunts, which I do recommend, get this one here for damage against dragons. Do your dragon hunts through Dragon Slayer, look up videos on how you can actually get all the reagents and the gear, and you will ultimately want to be going for the Serene Hood here. For the armor, again, you can start out with getting the seals of the dragon armor just to give you some extra stats there, power and crit strike. But then again, you want to go to your dragon hunts and get the mighty cuirass of the dragon hunter. For the arms, you will want to just start out with, again, the seals of the dragon arms here, and then you can probably stay with those or pick up the mighty vambracers. The damage difference will be very minimal and vary depending on the content. And then for the boots, again, seals of the dragon, you'll want to pick up those runes right here, giving you a bunch of accuracy rating when in a party, and you can probably just stay with those. But if you don't need those stats anymore, you could go with the sharp long boots to get the damage bonus here. As for the weapons, you will want to get some upgrades. You can go to Undermountain, the adventure here, and do master expeditions. Again, recommend looking those up. And you could get your alabaster weapons. They're not the worst, especially for multi-target content. Alternatively, you can go to Avernus, the Path of the Fallen campaign. You just need 30,000 item levels with that, and get these Legion Guard weapons. They look pretty cool, and they'll also provide your team with some extra stats, which will help their damage and survivability. Just as soon as you get to 50,000 item level, you want to go to the North Dark Reaches, and you want to be doing these tasks, and you want to be getting the Stormforged weapons. I've made videos on those, how to get them by doing all the questing, a bit of a grind, but well worth it, and like the best weapon set you're going to get outside of any master content, other than Mirage weapons if you do want to be running said master content, but that's a while away. They're not that great in random queues. But from there, let's actually start spending our million Astral Diamonds and getting some gear upgrades. So let's start with our neck, waist, and an artifact set. This will come fairly cheap from the auction house. You want to purchase your Demogorgon's Girdle. Buy it there on Legendary for less than 4,000. Then you want to get the Baphomet's Infernal Talisman. Again, you can get it on Legendary here for just over 2,000. And you also want to get the Shard of Orcus's Wand. Just got it on green there. Now you will want to make your way to a mail box. Anytime you buy something from the auction house, you will need to. You can summon one if you have VIP right here, or there's just a mail guy right here. And we claim those items. Then we can go and equip it. Now, I already have a set, so I'm not going to equip the one I just bought. And also make sure to equip the artifact. What this gives you now is a benefit called a Demon Lord's Immortality, where you will deal up to 10% more damage based on the difference of your hit points and your enemy's hit points. So if your enemy's nearly dead and you're still full hit points, you'll basically gain 10% damage. And we really didn't have to spend much at all. However, I will give you a warning. The very moment I come out with this video, those prices may be drastically increased. Do not spend much more than I do on any of these items. Wait until the prices go down a little bit, or look for alternatives as I suggest. So we're going to move on to our shirt and pants. Here, again, go to the auction house, and there are 3 different shirts you can get. You can get the corroded shirt of the Dragon Cult, or the tarnished shirt, or the torn one. What you want to get this for is the equip bonus of that 5% combat advantage. So we'll just buy one of the cheap ones and go and equip it. Now you will want to go to equipment, go to pants, and look up covert brace. Again, buy any of them here. You're just getting the bonus that gives you power and defense. From here, we're going to look for the Emerald Drow Ring, and we're just going to buy one of these. And then we get the Ruby Drow Ring. Now in the video, I did get the Sapphire Drow Ring. Don't go doing that because you'll end up with too much combat advantage. So equipping both those rings gives us some pretty decent stat bonuses. Now if you do want some upgrades from these, your neck and waist and artifact set would be to get the Shroomwood set. Save some more Astral Diamonds, 700k for the amulet, 1 million for the sash, and that's it. You don't need an artifact with it. That's probably the best set right now for rangers. For the rings, you can start out with rings from Dragon Hunts. You can get the Soothsayer's ring here and the Way Watcher's ring. From here, we're going to move to our mounts and populate that area a little bit. Ignore the other mounts I have. Also, I do have 100% bolster. Nothing I can really do about that. I can't discard the mounts I already have. but it will mean that any mounts you do gain will give a little bit less of an effect than what I will gain from them. Bolster is basically, you can read the tooltip there. So once again, go to your auction house and look up your legendary giant toad. Purchase this one for around 360,000 Astral Diamonds. Additionally, go to your mounts, look up legendary here. We can clear this. And you'll want to buy one of these that has a decent multi-target power. So you can just right click it, have a look. This one's okay. Reducing enemies damage with a bit of damage there. But I think what I will take from here is the Emperor Beetle, because of the stun effect. Can be very nice to give you a little bit of a breathing room, and the area is decent as well. So we'll buy that for like 100,000. The advantage of both of these mounts is that they are account wide. They have a dash account next to them, which means once you go and equip them, you can claim them in your claims valuables promo tab. Right here, it should show you all of the mounts you can get. I already have the legendary giant toad, so I'm not going to buy that one. But I don't have the beetle, so we will equip it. So once you equip both of those, you gain all of their abilities and powers. It should also put them in your stable here. So with those abilities, you'll want the legendary giant toad tongue lash for single target damage. It's going to be upwards of 3,000 magnitude once you upgrade the toad to Mythic using this method here with tokens. You're going to get those tokens with trade bars usually. But for now, it should be under 2,000 for you. That will depend again on your bolster. 2,000 being the max on legendary. For your equip power here, we can use opportunistic, which we got from our toad. Again, the values of that will differ depending on your bolster. But if you're running just multi-target content, you'll want to switch this toad over to the Imperious Stomp, which is that stun effect and also the damage from your beetle. You would call it down here in this area, and there you go. Bam, and it deals a bunch of damage, and those guys are stunned, meaning they can't attack you for that short period. Now what we want to do is populate our stable. We want to get some mounts that have some good insignia bonuses that we can make use of. The toad unfortunately doesn't have any great ones. The beetle though has some very nice ones. Gladiator's Guile, Assassin's Covenant. So what we're going to do is go to the auction house, go to our mounts, and look up like the Apparatus of Gond. You can search through all the mounts yourself, buy them on Epic or better, and look in their stats. And you want to get ones that are going to be able to fit the particular bonuses that I suggest. Apparatus of Gond is one of them. It's going to give Gladiator's Guile. The Giant Crab is another we're going to get. That's going to give us Protector's Camaraderie. The Apparatus of Koalish is a good one. That's going to give us Assassin's Covenant. And the Trained Basilisk is also another that's going to give us another Assassin's Covenant. Go to a mailbox, claim all those, and get them equipped. Now you will also want to slot them in your stable here. Now what we need to do is get Insignias to fill these slots so we can actually get those bonuses. So we go to our auction house, go to mounts, go to Insignias, go to like green, running away from this fighter who keeps spamming his dig in. And what you want to do is look up Regal and buy 6 of these. They should be lower than 2,000. Then you want to buy 2 illuminated ones and 6 enlightened ones and 1 barbed insignia. So again, that's 6 regals, 2 illuminated, 6 enlightened, 1 barbed. It does not matter what type they are whatsoever, but you could focus on like aggression, dominance, skill as kind of the ideal ones, but the bonuses are so minuscule I would not worry about that. So for the beetle, we're going to go with a regal, an illuminated, and an enlightened, giving us Gladiator's Guile. This gives us movement speed, which is really nice. The Apparatus of Gond, we're going to do the exact same thing there. A Regal, Enlightened, and Illuminated for another Gladiator's Guile. This gives us 15% movement speed. We can get around the place an awful lot faster. For the Apparatus of Koalish, we're going to go Enlightened, Enlightened, and then a Regal for Assassin's Covenant. Decreasing our defense stats, yes, but it increases our offense stats, meaning more damage. The Trained Basilisk, we're going to do the same. 2 Enlightens and a Regal. Another Assassin's Covenant. They stack, but one gives half the effect of the previous one. And finally, the Crab, just slot in the remaining ones there, and you should get Protector's Camaraderie. Whenever your companion attacks, you gain critical severity up to 1500. We will cover companions in just a second. But the last thing we can do here is get some collars. Generally, the cheapest thing is to look up the Epic Collar Choice Packs and buy them for, right now, just 8,000. You want to buy 5 of them. You now have 5 of the packs in your inventory, and you can only use 1 of each type. So 1 practical, 1 sturdy, so on. So what we're going to do is buy this Practical Regal one for Astral Diamonds, then the Sturdy Crescent for encounter power damage, Supportive Crescent for stamina regen, Unified Crescent for movement speed, and finally Wayfaring Barbed for crit severity. That's your 5 collars. Go ahead and slot them all here. That is a massive boost to item level right there, 600 on each of them, and they have some nice bonuses. So your item level should be around 30,000 now. Our next step is going to be our companions. We need to populate this area. Now here you want to get some bonuses that are going to contribute to your damage. So that's these stats. So we're going to go to our companions in the auction house. These usually cost a lot. You can get some cheap ones that will give you a little bit of a head start. You want to look up the hawk. You want to buy just the hawk, not the hunting hawk. So we're going to buy this one for 2,000. We want to get the barbarian shaman, just over 6,000. Then the red slad, 8,000. And the mercenary, 10,000. That is 4 companions, and we need a 5th. However, be aware of people jacking up the prices of these, artificially inflating them for a period of time. Just go to companions, check out, usually rare, you can find some cheap ones, and right click them, have a look at the bonus. Is it going to give you stats which you need for dealing damage? You can see some of these do. You can also look up some epic ones. There are some cheap ones, and if you can find ones that actually give you bonuses to your offensive stats, then they can be useful, like the red cap with crit severity. The problem is it gives critical avoidance as well, which is kind of wasted on you because it's not giving you more damage. So we've got all of these, and they just give double offensive stats, all giving bonuses to our damage stats. But as our summoned companion, what I do really recommend is Elminster. Buy the Elminster Simulacrum. Only 300,000 is a very good deal. Again, just be aware of the prices getting artificially inflated on this. The bonus is also pretty decent for damage, and it has been improved with a recent update. It is also account wide, meaning you can equip this character then on all your other characters. Just be aware again of people increasing the prices artificially. We get him equipped there. You should get him as summoned. You should get his bonus here. And then we're going to equip the other companions. So we just bind them there. You don't have to worry about naming them. You can if you want to, and you should get all their bonuses slotted here. Excellent. Does it automatically. They're all offensive stats. You can clear the ones you had before, and these ones will pop in here. For the purple power here, the amount it will give you will vary depending on your summoned companion, not of the companion that gives the bonus originally. What we generally want to go with here is potency for power or acute senses for combat advantage. I think for now we're going to go with potency. Now, one of the last things we can buy is companion equipment. You may very well already have some decent ones and you can just run that, but you can go to your auction house, you can go to companions and go to companion equipment. And if you don't already have any, then you can look over this. Get ones that would give you stats that is going to help you deal damage. We can look at our stats. What do we miss? Well, a lot there. We can pretty much fit anything. And you can see how little it costs, like nothing. We can get this bold ring of the companion and another one along with a third one. So we just get 3 bold ones and they will just give us crit severity, which we do miss. You can't get ones of power, otherwise I probably would. Now, one of the last things we can do is get some consumables. We do have a bit of Astral Diamonds left, 74,000. You could get a belt item, the Wondrous Doohickey, save up a bit, get it for 82,000. Can be a decent deal, it's a bit of damage. Or you can just run with the regular Doohickey, which is just a little bit less damage and only costing us 60,000 right there. But first, let's look at consumables. So We look up Flask of Potency and we can buy this for less than 5,000. That is a huge deal. We can look up Watermelon Sorbet. Get this for 11,000. And then the last thing we can get is from Invoking. So you should be able to pray to your god. And when you do that, you should get a currency here where you can buy these elixirs. What I would recommend is the Sun Lord's Gift Elixir. This will give you combat advantage and it will also give you accuracy. Now, if you do have some spare Astral Diamonds, feel free to buy a doohickey. We're only very shy off, but there are again not many in the auction house, and I'd wait for the Gond event. You can always get one for yourself. But we have all of these buffs here. You can use the Flask of Potency, Watermelon, and Sunlord's Gift Elixir. Buying some more of those elixir here from the store as well once you have prayed enough. And ultimately you can look up here in the top left and it should show you those buffs and how long they last for. Just be aware if you die, the Flask of Potency and Watermelon effects will expire and you might have to reapply them if you wanted to. So I generally only use this if you're really tryharding for damage or you know you won't die and just want extra damage for the team. But you can see our stats look pretty solid now versus how they were before. You should see quite the improvement in output of damage. You should even have some more item level than me just by having enchantments, which I don't have. You should get those enchantments just by doing your leveling adventures. You can go on to do Acquisitions Incorporated and you will get a free combat enchantment you can put here. Just on green, but it is 1,000 item level boost. This guy here also sells them, but don't buy them. Do Acquisitions Incorporated adventure and you should get your combat enchantment where you could get a soul shield for the revive, or you could go some extra damage and get cursed burn. You will not want to upgrade it because it'll be just worth it better to buy on legendary, or you get the lightning flash and upgrade that one. That one is generally the best for endgame. In terms of your other belt items, make sure you have some healing potions. If you have VIP every day, you'll claim some potions there. Or you can spend gold to buy the potions from this guy here. You can get gold through crafting. I recommend look up a video for that. And otherwise, your other belt item, again, you could get like the doohickey. I just have placeholder here. And also, again, the invocation blessing is placeholder. Go to the campaign, Valenhas, Descender into Avernus, and get the Forger's box. You can see that in collections just here. Again, look up the video how to get it. It'll give a boost to your stats, helping your damage. That is ultimately everything for the budget build. When you want to work towards upgrading from here, you may very well not want to upgrade these companions. Doing so will improve your damage because of the stats they give you. But if you're working towards an endgame build, you may want to look for alternatives like the Batiri, Tamed Raptor, Minsk, Neverwinter Night, Alchemist. They can just be very expensive and you can look at endgame builds for those. You will want to get other enchantments here, but generally don't upgrade green ones. It's usually not worth it. Same with your stable Insignias. Do not upgrade these. Get them on legendary by doing like the Reaper's Challenge and events, and only upgrade legendary ones or already buy a Mythic. Do not upgrade collars. It's usually not worth it. Wait until you're completely maxed out and literally have nothing else to spend your in-game currency on. Follow the gear upgrades that I suggested and you should see a decent improvement to damage, especially getting gear with actual useful bonuses. Most of this stuff doesn't have any bonuses because it's just very beginning gear. And yeah, that should greatly help you out to get started with your damage on your Ranger. Definitely recommend, as a last note, go to the campaign Light of Xeraxis, start that with a Falling Star quest from Sergeant Knox, and go get better companion equipment right here by just doing some campaign events. Just get Falling Stars quest here and follow that. Again, a massive thank you to all of these channel members for their added support. A Merry Christmas if you're watching it this day and celebrate it. And we'll see you guys around. Goodbye for now.